Hi guys! So before I jump into this review, a couple of things. If you hear loud noises, that's my electric fan because it's nighttime right now, but it's still very hot, so I'm very sorry if you will hear my electric fan blowing throughout this whole video. I'm so sorry. Actually, I filmed this review already last night. When I sat down editing it, I was not in focus and the lighting was cray. And I know that the lighting is a little bit more yellow right now, but still it's better than it was the last night. So a recap, I went into our local bookstores. I saw the Manifesto on How to Be Interesting, funny enough, right next to the 50 Shades of Grey series. And at first I was like, what is that book doing next to 50 Shades of Grey? I was kind of intrigued because the cover really is what caught my eye. I read the blurb, so I thought to myself, this is very interesting. But I was also very broke that time, so I thought, you know what, I'll just keep it there for now. I'll keep a mental note. This is the next book that I'm gonna pick up when I have money. And surprise, surprise, I go back to the bookstore and the book is sold out together with Am I Normal Yet? I was waiting for another month, waiting that maybe they'll be back in stock, but until now they're not back in stock, and I couldn't wait until they're back in stock. I got it on my Kindle. I actually had to pace myself a little bit in the beginning because I knew that if I were to let myself go, I would just read and read and read, and I had work at the same time, so I had to pace myself through it. But last Sunday I started around 1:30 p.m. after lunch, and I finished at around 7:30 in the afternoon. I spent the whole afternoon reading. And so I want to talk to you about this book because I really enjoyed it and I really like the concept of the story. I really love the character, and I want to give you an honest review on how I liked the book. I actually took down some notes just in case I forget something. So we'll have the non-spoiler section first, and then after that I'm gonna go to the spoiler section. So people who have not read the book yet, you have been warned, okay? There will be spoilers. So the Manifesto of How to Be Interesting is about this girl named Bree, and she's 17 years old. She comes from a very wealthy family. She doesn't really know what her dad does until the end of the book. Her mom is really a stay-at-home mom, and she is very busy, you know, keeping up being fabulous. Bree always sees herself a little bit as kind of the loner of the family. She doesn't really get the whole ordeal with her mom trying to stay fabulous, and she never really talks to her dad, and so she really spends a lot of time alone and with her best friend Holdo. Bree is also really obsessed with writing a book and getting her book published, but of course it's not that easy, and she gets rejection letters. And one day her teacher tells her that, you know, maybe you should lead a more interesting life so that people will have something more interesting to read, because people like to read about interesting stuff and interesting people. This is how the whole Manifesto on How to Be Interesting started, wherein Bree decided that, you know what, I'm going to write this blog about how to be interesting, making up these rules as I go. And not only is she going to observe interesting people, but she's also on the mission of becoming one of those interesting people. And so Bree goes into this journey of discovering what these interesting people do and how to become interesting yourself, but at the same time she gets to know herself more, she gets to know these people more, and it's really of a journey of finding herself. And she also has a lot of battles with herself, and this is basically how the story goes. So some of the issues that have been tackled in this book are peer pressure, bullying, self-harm, domestic issues, mental health, and also some cheeky student-teacher relationship. As for the writing style, the book is written in third person limited, meaning that it really solely focuses on Bree's point of view, but she doesn't tell the story herself. It's still from a third person point of view, but only focusing on Bree. Usually third person point of view, whether it's third person omniscient or third person limited, usually it's not my cup of tea. But if it's written the right way, I really enjoy it. And so I feel like third person was really the right way to go for this story. Obviously, since Holly Bourne, the author, is British, so the story also takes place in England. And so as you read on, you will actually notice a lot of British slang. And I was so happy that because I've been watching a lot of British YouTubers such as Zoella, Dan and Phil, and all of these other British YouTubers, so I kind of caught on to the different slang, and I really enjoy the British slangs. How you say mom is not mom but mum, and the way that it's been spelled out is M-U-M instead of M-O-M. Instead of saying that they had a nice chat, you would say that they had a nice chinwag. And also when Brie was having lunch with her friends, what we call French fries, they call chips. And what we call chips, they call crisps. So it's, at first it may be a little bit confusing, but you'll get used to it and you actually get a nice giggle out of it sometimes. I really enjoyed it. As I was reading the book, it also reminded me of a lot of other things. Like, it reminded me of some movies that I've watched before and some other books that I've read before. For example, it reminded me of Mean Girls. It reminded me of 13 Reasons Why by Jay Usher. By the way, if you haven't read the book yet, please read it. It's an amazing book. It also reminded me somewhat of Perks of Being a Wallflower. I really love Brie's humor. She's very sarcastic. And also another thing about Brie, the character itself, I love how we have this protagonist that is pretty, but not in the typical pretty stereotype that we usually get. She is a little bit chubby, she has a little bit of a rounded figure, and she has a little bit of a muffin top. And the same thing with her best friend Haldo, which is also funny because every time I read her best friend's name Haldo, I always thought of Waldo. I have no idea why, don't question me, but I always thought of Waldo. So the book, I wouldn't say that it's completely lighthearted, although there are small parts where, you'll get the giggles out of it, and it's funny. Some parts are very funny, but predominantly it tackled very heavy issues in terms of mental health and self-harm. It got pretty dark towards the end. It had a really beautiful conclusion at the end of the book. If you maybe want a more light-hearted young adult novel, then maybe pick up The Summer I Became a Nerd. But if you are into books that do tackle these, heavy issues and try to shed some light on all those things, and also, books that make you think and analyze more, I really, really highly recommend this book. So that was for the non-spoiler parts. So people who have not read the book yet, if you don't want to get spoiled, click out now, come back when you've read the book. Although, if you are into the spoilers and you don't mind getting spoiled, then be my guest and watch on. Now, let's go to some of the highlights, shall we? Can we just please appreciate that there was not that whole stereotype, I'm in love with my best friend, but I can't tell them because I don't want to ruin the friendship, blah, blah, blah thing. I really appreciated that. Although there are hints being dropped that Haldo does sort of have a thing for Brie, but it's not really expounded that much. So we can just guess and, take hints from whatever the book is telling us. When Brie got with the perfect posse, for the first time she went over to Jasmine's house and just talked with the girls and all that, and they asked her, what's the deal with you and that geek guy? The guy they always hang out with, Haldo's his name, right? You two are totally shagging. Brie, in the heat of the moment, she says, no, I don't want to catch his acne. She obviously felt bad, and so after that she thinks that she needs to make it up to Haldo, and so she goes to Haldo, to his house, a little bit tipsy. She starts kissing him. I mean, okay, let's face it, he is a teenager, he's a boy, he's a teenage boy, he has raging hormones all the time, and he has a thing for Brie. But then later on, when Brie kind of slips her hand down his pants, he jerks away and he asks her, why are we doing this? Tell me why. Are you doing this because you like me? Brie just tells him, why not? Why not, why don't we just do it? Because all the kids our age do it as well, so why not we do it too? He gets hurt because obviously he has a thing for his best friend, and he just tells her to leave. The thing that kind of upset me a little bit, that I wished could have tied together at the end. It's just that even her sarcastic jokes that they usually have, like making fun of each other or making fun of each other's faces, that usually was like a normal deal for them. Now it's different because Brie has morphed into this popular girl and, you know, morphed into this prettier version of herself. So obviously, if she makes fun of Holdo's face, it has a different effect now. That's when their relationship started to get a little bit rocky. She goes to the Perfect Posse and she says like, oh, I don't want to catch this acne. And also on top of that, the Perfect Posse, especially Gemma, she has this daily gossip blog where she just posts gossip about other people, which by the way also reminded me of the burn book from Mean Girls. I was hoping so much that maybe that rumor would be posted somewhere, just went out somewhere and got to Holdo at some point, and maybe that could have added, you know, rockiness to their relationship, because all we see have a solid best friend relationship, and then she just changes and then their relationship got rocky, and the whole ordeal where they almost had sex. I know that maybe that would have been the last straw for Holdo that time, but I was really hoping to have a little bit of more, that there could be a little bit more conflict between their relationship as best friends, because for the most of the book we don't get to see Holdo until the end of the book again. He just comes up out of nowhere, hugs Brie and tells her, you've become an internet sensation because of your blog. He just keeps smiling at her, and then after that Holdo brings her back to her house and then he just disappears again. I don't know, but it just didn't sit that well with me. There wasn't really closure to, you know, the conflict that happened in their relationship. It was just really hoping some sort of tying those loose ends together in terms of their relationship, but that's just my opinion. Okay, let's talk about Jasmine and her Perfect Posse. The moment Brie decided that she needed to infiltrate the Perfect Posse instantly reminded me of the Plastics. Jasmine being Queen Bee, being Regina George. I love that one scene where they went to Hugo's Shag Fest. I love how Brie was talking about, for a moment, actual hip-hop was playing, and for a moment, these girls forgot their ethnicity and that they started shimmying without realizing that they do not have the body parts to shimmy. Anyway, back to the Perfect Posse. It really reminded me of the time when Katie was trying to get into the Plastics, but for a whole different reason. She really wanted to pull Regina George down. Here, Brie infiltrated the Perfect Posse because she wanted material for her blog. And I was reading the Q&A at the back with Holly Bourne. She actually did, in her research, include watching a lot of Mean Girls. So this is why we see somewhat of a similarity, which is very funny. The character that I hated the most must be Hugo. Let's just talk about Hugo. Of course, not every guy is like Hugo, but let's be honest, girls. All of us have this one guy that we know that is just like Hugo. Cocky, self-righteous, and just a big pervert. Instantly, when I got to know his character, I was just like, nope. There were so many times where I just wanted to reach into the book and slap him so hard. The scene where he takes Brie's virginity. Can we just talk about that? And can we just talk about how that scene, it was more frustrating on my part? Of course, most of the things that she does was out of to write something that is worth other people's time to read. She goes inside Hugo's room, snoops around a bit, and then Hugo conveniently is at the door. Hugo is like, nope, you're not leaving. Sexual tension is in, and eventually Brie gives in. Even though her conscience tells her no, even though she really just needed Jasmine and the Perfect Posse for writing material, but still, she was starting to feel friendship for Jasmine, especially that Jasmine also told her that, you know, you're not alone. This self-harming thing, I do it myself. She shows her bald spot on her head. Brie starts to see Jasmine more as a friend other than just writing material. And in the end, she still gives into Hugo, still kisses him back because she does have a crush on Hugo, but she also needs to sleep with him because of she needs writing material. And there's this like little hope in her left that maybe, just maybe, Hugo likes her back. And when I was reading the part where he literally pinned her on the bed and then she just loses it, and just lets him do whatever he wants to do with her. Thus, she loses her virginity. I wanted to just grab her out of that situation and tell her, girl, he doesn't like you. He actually said, I'm just horny. This guy is just after your V card. He's not in love with you. But at the same time, you can't completely blame Brie as well, because that's just how her brain, her mind works. And you, as the reader, know exactly that she needs help, but she hasn't realized that yet. So you can't do anything about it but to just go on to this journey, hope for the best. Logan Fellows, that English teacher. He was described as 30 years old. I always keep thinking of old geezer teacher and a young hot student. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, don't think of old geezer. Picture Chris Evans. Picture Captain America. Yes, that's good. That's good. Okay, Captain America is Mr. Fellows. Before they had their first kiss, Brie stops him when she feels the sexual tension between them, although she has a huge thing for him, and she always thinks, I am in love with him and I think he loves me back. All the alarms. I was like, girl, it's never gonna work out. Stop. So right when they were about to do their first kiss, Brie stops him and says that, I read this article online, I did a little bit of research, and I was reading about why teachers usually fall in love or have affairs with their students, and most likely these students that they have affairs with are actually popular kids at school. And the reason why they usually choose the popular kids at school is because when they were teenagers themselves, they were usually the unpopular kids. They were somewhat losers of their school, and so they're living out this fantasy. And then Mr. Fellows goes, Brie, I've loved you when nobody else saw you. I loved you when you were unpopular. Popular or unpopular, I still love you. Again, just like Hugo, she loses it, he loses it, and then they're on the floor kissing, occasionally banging their feet against the door to make sure that nobody barges in. Every time they had a kissing scene, every time they had like a make-out scene, I would always, in my head, thinking, okay, they're gonna get caught. It's just gonna be a whole disaster. Sometimes I really was like, I hope you do not get caught. For your sanity's sake, I hope you do not get caught. Sometimes it just got so ridiculous. I was like, you know what? I hope you get caught, because this teacher needs to go to jail and you, girl, need to get your ducks in a row. Not only was he a teacher, he was also married. There is no way that you can actually make this work. The way he acted when Brie in the end comes to him for help after Hugo showed everyone in the school a video that he took of Brie and him shagging. She hopes for comfort, and Mr. Fellows acted as immature just like Brie acted immature. He's just like, I'm your teacher, therefore you will call me Mr. Fellows. And then Brie screams, you're not my teacher, you're my boyfriend. The last straw for Brie was when Mr. Fellows went, this between us, it's nothing. I just didn't know how to behave myself. I just lost control. You know, at some point you're like, girl, you should have seen this coming. But then at the same time, you have to understand and kind of get into Brie's head, the way she thinks and the way that she feels. Let's talk about the self-harm. I love the way that Holly presented how Brie was actually a self-harmer. Was subtle. The first hint that we get is when she scratches one of her scabs and then blood trickles down. The next hint that we get is, I love how it was narrated and just said that Brie went home, she went into her ensuite bathroom, locked the door, and didn't come out for another hour. You would think, okay, what's going on inside that bathroom? Like, what could she possibly do? We can read some of the hints where, you know, she's trying to hide the scars, she's trying to hide her scabs, or sometimes it hurts her to do rigorous exercise because her scars haven't healed completely yet. After the whole fiasco with Hugo telling the whole school that he took her virginity, and then Jasmine getting all mad at her, the perfect posse getting all mad at her. She developed good friendship with Hugo and with everyone else. And then even that she sees crumble down. First it was Haldo. First she loses Haldo because of what she did and didn't even tell him why she did the things that she did. And then now she even loses her new friends. And on top of that, she loses someone she actually fell in love with, who led her on as well. And so we see her going home, going into the bathroom, replaying in her mind all the things that she experienced at school that day, and just keeps cutting and she doesn't even feel the cuts anymore. She just keeps cutting until she swims in and out of consciousness, and all we hear is her mom panicking, calling the police. I don't know what's happening. It's just my daughter, and there was blood everywhere. I didn't really cry during this whole book until I got to the hospital scene when Bree finally had her talk with her parents. She apologizes to her mom, saying, "Mom, I'm sorry for being a failure. I'm sorry for not being the daughter that you wanted me to be." And her mom just keeps telling her and reassuring her that, "Darling, I love you. You know, you're my only daughter, and I was worried that I was about to lose you, and you know, I love you." And Bree goes to refute everything and say that, "No, you don't love me. You only paid attention to me because I started to getting my hair cut. I got interested in buying clothes and all of that and got popular." And what really got to me is when her mom says, I started tearing up when the mom told her, "Oh, sweetie, you're not messed up. You're wonderful." We can get to hear the mom's side of the story, because all we hear is Bree's side of the story. Bree telling us that, you know, her mom's never there. She's not even sure if she likes her mom. Her mom is too concerned with superficial things. Her dad is never there. But now we get to hear the side of the parents, and now we can see what really is going down and what really is the problem here. I really started tearing up when the mom told her that, "I didn't start loving you when you became popular or when you started growing a liking into cutting your hair and going shopping with me and going to Pilates with me. It's not that. I jumped at the chance because for the first time in so long, you let me take care of you. You let me be a part of your life, and you let me love you." And so we can see the vulnerable side of the mom as well, and the patience and the love that the mom has for Bree. Even if Bree's parents wanted to spend time with Bree, they couldn't, because Bree shut everyone out. She shut her parents out and everyone else she didn't want in her life. And so it was so nice to see her coming into terms with that, realizing that she has been at fault as well. Not just her parents, but she has been at fault as well for putting this wall up and never letting anyone in. But what really gave me the tearjerkers when her dad finally spoke. Bree was talking to her mom and saying, "Mom, I don't want to go back. Please don't let me go back to the horrible place. I don't know how to face anyone. Everyone hates me now, and I don't have any friends anymore." And then Bree's father speaks up and says, "You're going back. I can accept everything else that's happening. I can accept that your psychiatrist is not going to section you after all. I can accept the horrible phone call that I just took from your mom earlier this evening. All that I can accept, but I cannot accept that my daughter, my only daughter, lets herself be a victim and lets herself be pushed down the stairs by people who are half the person that she is. We raised a fighter. Now where is she?" I just lost it. I started crying. He was very stoic. He never really says anything much, but finally you can see that he does care. He's just not the showy type of person. I can understand that, because my parents and I were not very showy. We love each other. We're not the type of people that hug each other all the time. Like, "I love you so much" all the time. No, this is why I kind of can relate and understand where the attitude that Bree's father has. Her father actually is a lawyer, and so they made these charges against Hugo the moment Bree comes back to school. And I really admired Bree, because Hugo just storms at Bree. Bree just confidently, even though her insides are jelly, confidently just stands up for herself. I really commended her for getting back that attitude where, like, you know, I don't care what anyone else says, I'm gonna stand up for myself. And she did. Slowly but surely coming back to her feet. I have no idea why the lighting is going like this, but we're on the last stretch. Last stretch, people. I'm almost done. In the end, after Holdo tells her that you have a lot of subscribers to your blog and a lot of people read your blog and all of that, and instead you would think Bree was gonna call the publishing house, but she actually went to call her dad. She hugged her mom and her dad at the end and telling them that I need help and I want help. Finally, she admitted to herself that she needed help, that she wanted help. The book ends with her epilogue and saying sorry to the people that she was wrong. But the biggest sorry and the most difficult sorry that she had to give was herself for letting hatred eat her up from the inside out. Well, the second to the last rule that I really love in her manifesto was that to love yourself. And her last rule, how to be interesting. Stop caring. Choose to live and choose to be happy and choose to love. The problem that she had with harming herself, she promised her psychiatrist, she promised her parents, and in the end she also promised herself, I'm not gonna hurt myself anymore, I'm not gonna harm myself anymore, but I'm gonna choose to love and I'm gonna choose to live. I really love the book. In my personal opinion, I think it's a very powerful book, despite some of the loose ends that did not really tie up that much with Haldo, her relationship with Haldo, but I think in overall it makes you realize how to properly treat other people. In the Q&A section, when Holly Bourne was asked, how important do you think it is that authors raise these kind of awareness to the reader? And she said that first thing that you should be able to do is to make your readers turn the page. And once they've turned that page, you can ninja in some of those values and raise awareness to all of these things that you want people to be more aware of. I really think that Holly Bourne as an author is very smart, and I love what she's doing in terms of raising awareness to mental health and to all of these other things that we usually neglect on a daily basis. There are some quotes that I also really love from this book. I don't think I can actually add all of those quotes anymore. You know, this video has been gone for too long. I would like to know, how did you like the book? How did you find the book? And you know, let's have a nice chat, let's have a nice chinwag in the comment section below. Let me know how the book has affected you as a reader. Anyway, seriously now, it's very late. I hope that you're having a nice day or a nice morning or a nice evening or a nice night wherever you are in the world. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!